I'm starting off with this not because I am giving props to any one cruise ship, but I need to be not in Illinois for a while, and I think I need to be on a ship in the middle of the ocean. So,
I was
um,
trying to match yours and realized mine is an oil filter.
yours is
Which
a Cummins fleet thing, so that's wonderful. Um, but have you ever, first of all, we're not going to get inappropriate with it, but every time I see Cummins, I'm like, couldn't you have come up with a better way to name your company? But we're not going to do that. So, um,
I used to drive an old Dodge that had a Cummins engine, and I will tell you, it
it
went.
kept going and going
Yeah,
and going.
it
Uh-huh.
was a really good vehicle.
Yeah. Uh, no, I get it. I get it. I'm not the first people to make jokes about
Yeah,
that
no,
name
we
brand.
make jokes all day.
So, today's topic, though, is about giving information when it's needed and like thinking ahead a little bit. And the reason I'm doing this today, it doesn't even matter what the prescription is, but my doctor called in a prescription and it needed to have a pre-authorization. We've all went through that at some point, but the pharmacy said it needed a pre-authorization. And then a day later when I called back, they're like, "Well, I don't know why we're bothering with this because it's been on back order for 6 months." You mean so the last 24 hours of me trying to get pre-authorization that you told me I needed could have stopped if you would have just said, "You're not getting the prescription anyways?" And it kinda, like, pissed me off and started making me think of all the times that you get information 5 minutes too late. You know what I'm saying? And whether it's about, like, you're meeting somebody and, um, you know, you're like, we've been talking for a couple of months," like you said, dating world. "We've been talking for a couple of months. I'm gonna meet you first time in person because you finally, I'm convinced you're not a psycho." And then 5 minutes into the conversation, you're like, "Dang it, you didn't tell me that. Now you're a psycho."
That was like my date the other day. We were having a decent date, and it was okay. And then it ended in I voted for Trump.
And you're like, that should have to be, like, a requirement of the dating site, right? Like, and because political views are important, right? Um, you, it really is. Now, in some ways, maybe it's not. There are certain political views that you could possibly both live in the same world with, right? Um, uh, I can't have natural children. And so, like, all the relationships I've been in, it doesn't matter if somebody is, pro abortion or pro life or pro whatever. It's because it's never going to impact me and our relationship directly. We're never going to have to make that decision. And as long as we're okay with other people making their own decisions, that's all that matters, right? So, there's certain things that you can live with in your household because it's okay for that particular household to live in that world. But I can't imagine being with somebody whose political beliefs are completely in all facets against yours.
Yeah.
And I think that should be a requirement because yeah, you don't want to find that out. You're like, "Oh, you know what? I thought you were a nice, great person, and maybe you are, but I can't live with those political beliefs."
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's always
because
a good one. We have Sophia and Jeanette watching
ooh,
today.
what time is it where Sophia is? Sophia, what time is it for you? It's like gotta be midnight.
Three,
Um, I think it's 7 hours for me,
it's
so
got
it's
to be
11.
about 9, 10 o'clock. Yeah, it's 9, 10 o'clock.
Okay, I'm waiting for her to respond, so she'll let us know.
11:01
11:01. Wonderful. Wonderful. So,
p.m.
yes. Yes. Thank you for clarifying for other people. We did assume you're 7 hours ahead. So, um, no, that is wonderful. But with that, it's not just about even political beliefs or doctors that aren't giving things, but I feel like every day, I have a not that I feel like I have one, I do, a teenager that lives in my house. I was gonna say I feel like I have a teenager, but I really do. But every day I feel like it's like, "So, what's going on this weekend?" And I get this much, right? And then, like, 3 days later, it's like, "Well, by the way, all these 22 things are happening, and I have to be there at 10 AM and picked up at 11, and, oh, and 3 friends don't have rides, so can you get them too?" It's like, "I asked you 12 times what was happening this week."
So I could plan appropriately.
And apparently I can't get the information when I need it. And that's my thing right now. I feel like I'm not getting information when I need it. I'm getting information when other people feel like they have time or I don't even know what. And it's not like they're gatekeeping it. I mean, maybe they are, but it's kind of stupid information to gatekeep.
I think
So,
at times we don't think to share the information. Um,
okay.
I think at times there and I mean, I'm might be a little bit, I'm always the one that gives everybody the benefit of the doubt in some
You
fashion.
do. You do.
But I think in times, like with kids, unfortunately, they don't even think that that's a thing. They're moving on to whatever's going on the next second, and they forget that that's something they have to tell you until it becomes last minute. But I think for the most part, people feel that certain things are theirs, so they don't share them, or they feel that maybe, like you said, if they're not if they're, maybe it's something that wasn't asked, and if it wasn't asked, then why tell? And that's
I
one of those.
I think that's what it is it's like, if you're not gonna specifically ask, why would I tell you? And I
Mhm.
can see that with a teenager, right? I've I've now had a few of them. I can see that with a teenager, but I don't quite understand it in the business world,
Well,
right?
in the pharmacy, that should have been the first thing they said.
Right. Um, but I think it happens a lot in the business world, and I'll use cable companies because we dealt with that. We just switched cable companies because if anybody wants to agree or I hate Comcast. So we finally got rid of Comcast and we went with AT&T. We're loving it, but the problem is that we called them to cancel and Comcast is like, "Oh, well, we can give you this program and that program and this program to save you money." Well, you weren't willing to do that when we called 3 months ago and told you we were having problems. Right now, you're going to give me all this information to keep me from going to AT&T. And T. And it's like, no, 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 no. And businesses, I think, keep some of that stuff in a way that would benefit and help them retain clients if they just allowed people to benefit from some of the programs that are there to keep clients or to keep, I don't know, users. What are you with it, Comcast or are we a
Yeah, I don't
client?
know. I think we're a client, a customer. I think they're the
Maybe a
customer
customer.
people.
Yeah, we're probably customers. But anyway, um do you have any specific stories of people keeping information from you other than dating world? I'm not in the
Um,
dating world, so I don't get to do that very like,
stay,
oh,
stay over there. Just stay on that side of the fence if you can. Um, I think really for me, a lot of it actually, I was going to work with somebody, and when I bring somebody on to work for me, I start them with small tasks. Hey, can you get
sure.
this done? And then they accomplish that. And I say, okay, great. Can we add this now? And they either accomplish or they don't. And in this instance, I kept giving them the benefit of the doubt. And I was
Oh,
like, okay, these little things need to be done. They're not being done yet. That's okay. We're having conversations. You're telling me what's going on. This is now getting to the critical point where this is why I brought you on and I need you to accomplish these things. And the conversation was, yes, I can do it.
oh yeah.
And then when I went to go do one of the things that it takes 20 minutes, and I get it. Everybody out there, it's a 20-minute project that just needs to be done. But for me to accomplish that 20 minutes is impossible. And when I have to do it, I end up doing it. I do the streams right before the streams instead of 20 minutes on a specific
Sure.
time to get it done. But the conversation came back. I was like, hey, this isn't done. Do you have time? Well, no, I don't. 4 weeks of yes, I do to one simple sentence of no, I don't would have saved so much time.
Right, right.
And I think
I
that's that people pleasing, I'm just going to try. And it's okay. Like, I love the person to pieces. I'm glad that they are busy and that they're doing things, but I needed that information ahead of time.
Yeah, and I think that goes to it's the same concept of getting information when we need it, but it's also being upfront with um, your limitations. And I've went round and round about this in the past with everybody from paid employees to volunteers. Don't say you can do something if you can't. Like, it's not that I won't show you how to do it if you don't know how, or I'm going to like take away your job if you tell me you don't know how to do something. Like, just be upfront and honest, and it'll allow us to work quicker, better, and stronger.
Yeah. And
Um,
if it's not something you can take on, I can delegate it out.
Correct. It gives you the choice at that point. Instead of what you were doing is for a few weeks, you were backing up her not doing it. And then all of a sudden now you're like, well, not only am I backing it up not doing it, but now it's not being done at all. So there's not even a potential. And so, yeah, that sucks. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. And I think that comes into that, when earlier we were talking about, well, did you ask? I did ask. Did you feel comfortable answering the right answer? But that
Hmm.
comes into, if I'm committing to something, I people please, or you know what I mean? Like, those, are you people pleasing, or can you take the commitment? Are you trying to get something done because you're trying to, what are you trying to gain from how you're answering these questions or providing the
Yeah,
answers? Because if I provide you with half of the job and I don't show you how to do it, then that's on me,
sure.
right? But we all know that I'm probably a little overly anal on when I show people how to do things. And that's the case too. Hey, Brittany, you're a micromanager on how to do this, and I don't want to. Great. Thank you.
Ah, that's funny though.
I will
But
take that answer.
the thing is too is like, we've given examples of teenagers and pharmacies and work relationships, but the thing or an example just came into my head. Somebody I know was let go because they weren't doing certain paperwork for their job, and it doesn't matter. I'm not going to get into details because I don't want people to know who they are, but this paperwork, they didn't realize the ramifications of not doing it, that it was part of a quarterly financial audit for the federal, like on the federal side. So they kept telling their supervisor that they did it. Yep, I did it. Yep, I did it. Yep, I did it. And then when it came time for the audit, they failed an audit and had to do a bunch of stuff to keep the company stable and not lose their licensure. And it's like you can't, sometimes there's bigger ramifications to not to claiming you're doing something and not do it.
Well, and here's the thing with that follow through too, though, is if you're asking and not verifying, right? You're trusting somebody
Oh,
enough to not
are you
verify
quoting
to the
Ronald Reagan
point.
now? You're,
Am I what?
you're quoting Ronald Reagan now. Trust yet verify.
I'm just saying,
Uh
if
huh.
you do not verify that
Whose fault is it?
if I mean, exactly, because it got that far, right? If you're getting, it's
Yeah.
not one paper wasn't filed, it's
No.
multiple papers that were not filed that created the federal government to step in. So at that point, you're not verifying that those things are being done.
This is like, what was that movie with the TPS reports? Office Space or something? I don't know if you've ever watched it. You should if
I
you haven't.
might have. I think
Um,
I've seen Office Space, but I don't remember that part.
well, the TPS reports were pointless, and so they served no purpose. And sometimes we have those things in business, but we also have to pay attention to the ones where they do serve a purpose. And yeah, as supervisors, it's our job to verify the important things, right? And I know I went off on a tangent there, but there are sometimes bigger ramifications to not giving information when you're asked. So,
Yeah. No, it's
um,
huge and it's really important. So it's really important to look at, why am I withholding? Why am I misleading? Why, what are
right.
these things? What is it that a lot of times, if you're not giving an upfront answer, it's because you're not comfortable with it. And so and we talked about this earlier with Linda. Linda, the topic was, go with it. And we know that I'm very bad at going with it.
Not one of your finer qualities.
Not at all.
So,
So she was talking about going with it, and I was talking about how sometimes, even if you can always try to converse the conversation. Yes, this is how you need it done. However, I need to do it this way. If you're confronted with the flow, go with the flow, was
oh,
what she was
sure.
saying. If you're confronted with the flow, then have a conversation about the flow. If somebody has asked you a question and you are not comfortable with the answer, have a conversation about that. Hey, you know what? I know you keep asking me if I can do this, but I honestly, let's pull some things back. Let's go backwards a little bit.
Yeah.
Or hey, I need you to get this verified, but by the way, we won't be able to get it to you in 4 months. That's please verify so we can give it to you when it's in stock in 4 months. There's what is the conversation with that? And it could have been a different tech who doesn't know that they're out of stock on that.
It
But
could have
if
been.
it's been out of stock, I'm guessing the whole office knows it's out of stock.
Yes. Yeah. And just so you know, again, I don't want to tell people my complete business, but it's a prescription of something that is well known and well used. And so if it's out of stock, they would know. I wouldn't be
Yeah.
the only person wanting this prescription. So,
So be wary of why you're withholding information.
mhm.
What is it? And honestly, if you vote for Trump, put that on your dating sites, guys.
Yes, yes. Um, the all the things. That could be a whole nother, but we are at 18 and a half minutes. And that is over our normal. And so we're gonna point to our little QR codes over here. Okay.
Yep.
And we appreciate everyone watching. Thank you, Sophia and Jeanette, for commenting and being here for us. We appreciate both of you.
Bye, everybody.